Hey guys, Mr. Edwards here, Centreville High School Automotive Technology. Today we're going to be talking about scan tool usage, specifically using scan tools to pull fault codes out of a car when you have a warning light on the dashboard, like the check engine light, airbag light, ABS light. We're going to talk about how you use these tools to pull codes out of cars and then what those codes mean when it comes to repairing the vehicle. So before we talk about scan tools themselves, we're going to talk about why you could possibly need to use one. So I'm hopping in this car here, and you guys know that when we put the key in and turn it to the on position, not running, but just 2 clicks, the on position, all those dash lights come on, okay? And most of them will go out, like you just saw the airbag light go out. Most of them will go out once the car starts. They all should go out once the car starts and is going down the road. If one of them stays on with the car running, that signals that there's a problem with that system. So I'm going to start the car up. And we can see we have the door lights on because the door's open, the seatbelt lights on because I don't have my seatbelt on because we're not going anywhere. But one light over there on the left, you guys can see, that's our check engine light. That's telling us that there's a problem with the emissions system on the car, and we need to do something about that because it cannot pass Virginia State emissions inspection with that light on. We need to use one of our scan tools to hook it up to the OBDII system on this vehicle, which is the onboard diagnostic system, and be able to figure out what's going on with the emissions system of our car. So let's take a look at what kind of car we can hook up a generic OBDII scan tool to and be able to figure out what's going on with it. The car has to be a 1996 model year or newer. And you guys can see, manufactured by Toyota Manufacturing Company, USA, in 6 of 96, which would mean that this is a either 1996 or 1997 model. In this case, it's a 1996. It just falls into being what's called OBDII. Older cars, 1995 and older, had OBDII diagnostic systems on them, and those cars could not communicate to generic scan tools. Every brand, Toyota, Honda, Ford, Nissan, GM, they all had their own brand of scan tools that were dealer specific. You had to take the car into the dealership, they had to hook their computer up to it to figure out what was going on with it. In 1996, the federal government came out with a law that said all cars sold in America have to comply with OBDII specifications, which means that they have to be able to communicate to a generic scan tool that anybody can use, basically, and they all can tell you or give you an idea, at least, of a road to go down as to what's wrong with the car. So this car being a 1996 model, we can hook a generic OBDII scan tool to it and figure out what's going on with our check engine light. So let's take a look at a couple of different OBDII scanners here that I have here at my house. These are just ones that I happen to have on hand here at home that I can use and show you guys. If you're in a shop, there's a good chance that you're going to have much nicer ones than these two right here. For an example, at school, we have a couple of ones by Snap-on, the Snap-on Modus and Modus Edge, and both of those are tablet-based scan tools that can do a lot of dealer-specific stuff and are very high-end scan tools and very expensive. These ones right here, just little palm reader, palm little handheld scan tools. They cost less than $100 each usually, and the higher-end tablet-based ones that can do all kinds of fancy stuff can cost thousands and thousands of dollars. So these ones right here, this one is just a generic OBDII scan tool. It hooks up to the OBDII port. This one's a little bit fancier in that it's an OBDII and ABS scan tool, which means it can figure out what's wrong with a check engine light and an ABS light. One thing about OBDII scan tools is they all have the same connector on them that hooks up to the car, because every OBDII car 1996 to current has this connector somewhere where these scan tools can hook up to them. So it's this little unique shape connector. There's 16 pins inside of it that you can see there, and they all have a purpose when it comes to communicating with the scan tool. Check this one over here. It has the same 16-pin connector on it. So now, in the car, we have to find out where that unique connector for our scan tool to hook up to is. On 99% of cars, OBD2 1996 to current, it's going to be underneath the steering wheel, somewhere underneath the driver's side of the dash. A lot of times there's a little cutout for it in the dash, and you'll be able to see it somewhere down near the pedals. On this car, because it's such early OBD2, being that it's the first year it was mandated, 1996, they did something a little bit different. And if you have a car that you're looking and you're looking and you're looking and you cannot find that connector, Google helps. That's what I did for this. Behind this little coin tray right here, if you pop this in, you can look up inside of there, and there's our OBD2 connector in the back. So we're gonna have to pop this in like that, and there's our connector way back there. Some cars that the manufacturer chose to do for whatever reason, it's over here on the passenger side of the center console area. Some it's behind like the ashtray. But like I said, 99% of cars, it's going to be right under the steering wheel on the driver's side of the dash. Now, to hook up our scan tool, we need to find that connector, which we did, and then look at our connector on our scan tool. I'm just going to use our basic Actron Auto Scanner Plus, since all we're doing is pulling check engine light codes. Come in here, and with this one, because of where it's at, it's a little bit tricky. I got to wiggle on this thing and pull it out without breaking it, and then I can plug the scan tool, or the scan tool connector, straight on there like that, and you'll see it sent power to my scan tool. Before it can read the codes from it, though, it needs to be able to communicate with the car. In order for it to be able to do that, I need to turn all the computers of the car on. So to do that, I have to turn my key to the on position. 1, 2 clicks. That's when all the dash lights come on. I don't want the car to be running. I just want the key in the on position so that everything's communicating. Now, on my scan tool, here's my main menu. I'm going to click on Vehicle Diagnostics, enter. Do I want to erase data stored in the tool from the previous vehicle tests? A lot of scan tools ask you this because it still has memory from the last car you used it for. Yes, I'm working on a different car now. Now, here's the main menu for the car for the OBD2 functions this tool can perform. It can check the IM monitors, which are the emissions monitors. It's what checks every system of the emissions components of the car. If they're not set, you cannot pass Virginia State emissions inspection, and when they do set, that's when the car will detect if it has a problem or not and throw a check engine light. I don't need to look at that. I can read codes. That's going to tell me why my check engine light's on. I can check pending codes, which are codes that the car says, hey, there might be a problem here. I'm going to check it one more time before I put that light on. I can erase codes. I only want to do that after I fix the problem with the car. I don't want to erase my codes and have not fixed anything, because then I don't necessarily know what was wrong. I can run some live data on the car. I can view freeze frame data. Freeze frame data is what will freeze. It basically takes a snapshot. When it detects there's a problem and it turns on the check engine light, it takes a snapshot of everything that was going on with the car that the scan tool can look at and saves it for you. So I can look at my freeze frame data if I want to, if I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with it. And then there's a couple other things on here that I can run through, but that's all the basic stuff for OBD2. So I'm going to come up here to read codes, click enter. It's going to take a minute, working. If it comes back with a message that says no communication, I probably don't have my key turned on. So make sure you have your key turned on, you got some dash lights on. In this case, I got my code. There's only one code, 1 of 1. If it said like 1 of 16, oh boy, you got big problems. There's only one code, and it's P0402. So you'll see codes that are in all different families. You'll see P codes, you'll see U codes, you'll see B codes. P stands for powertrain, so that's the engine and the transmission. U is a communication code, generally with the electrical system of the car. B stands for body, so that's an issue like with electrical stuff, with the windows, the doors, the radio, the HVAC. Those would be body codes, the body of the car. So we have a P code here, P0402, powertrain, EGR flow, excessive detected. So the EGR system, EGR stands for exhaust gas recirculation, and there's excessive flow in the system detected. So we're going to go on all data here in a minute and look up what that code means and potentially what our fix could be. So take your code and write it down somewhere. I've got it put in my phone here. You can write it on a piece of paper, whatever you're working on. If you're working in a shop, write it on the repair order, write it on the estimate for the customer, whatever the case may be. Just don't lose it. Don't forget it, because you got to go and look it up now. So I've got it written down. Now, to disconnect my scan tool here, first thing I want to do is turn it off. So the power button down here. And this one doesn't seem to want to turn off. Let me see if I back out of here. We'll go reverse, back to the main menu. Now we'll try to power it off. Okay, so I don't know why it has a power button, because anyway, you should power most of them down before you disconnect them from the car. This one seems to be drawing power straight from the car and doesn't want to turn off, is what it is. Never pull on the wire here. Always grab the connector itself. It's got little grips in it for your fingers. Pull it straight out. We don't want to bend any of the pins inside of there. Shut off our scan tool, wind up the wire. If you had to take anything apart to get to your connector, obviously you would put it back together at this point. And then one of the most important parts, don't forget to turn your key off, because with it just in the on position like that, it'll drain the battery down real quick and you'll end up with a dead battery. Alright, so we're here on ALLDATA now, and we're going to put in what vehicle we have. So it's a 1996, nope, not 95, 1996 Toyota Camry, and it's a Camry sedan 4-door, not the coupe or the wagon. Now we have the V6 engine in it, not the 4-cylinder. Make sure you select the correct one, because especially with engine stuff like this, emissions engine stuff, it makes a difference. Now we're going to go up here to diagnostic trouble codes, because that's what we just pulled out of the car. Go to P code charts, because remember P, powertrain codes. And our code was P0402, so they're all in order here. We'll scroll down to the 400s. P0402. Alright. Inspection procedure using OBDII scan tool, that's what we just did. Yes, and it's a problem with the EGR system, so it's showing us diagrams here with our EGR valve, our EGR vacuum modulator, vacuum lines that are going up, electrical stuff. There's the vacuum switching valve that's between the two that the vacuum lines go to. So it's showing us all this stuff. It's telling us tests to do. It's telling us when it would throw that code, you know, possible problems. You know, the EGR valve is stuck open, the EGR vacuum switching valve is malfunctioning. There's an issue with the circuit for the VSV, a short, and the temp sensor for the EGR valve. So it's giving us all these possibilities, and then it tells us how to check all this stuff. So at this point, what you guys would do is basically start with the top of the list and work your way down until you find out what the problem is, going through all the diagnostic tests that ALLDATA tells you to do. The cool thing about ALLDATA is that it pulls its information, all these diagrams and everything, straight from Toyota. So this is the same stuff that if you were a Toyota technician at the dealership, you'd be getting this same information and these same diagnostic procedures. ALLDATA is awesome with giving you this stuff. Google, if you were doing this on your own at home, I mean, that would be the other option, would be to Google what the code means, but you're not going to get detailed information like this. So that's why we're blessed to have the information that we do with ALLDATA. Alright guys, well, that's it. That's how we pull OBDII trouble codes out of a car with a scan tool, figure out what those codes mean so that we can go ahead and fix our car. Hope you guys learned something from watching this. Make sure you fill out the reflection sheet that goes along with the video. I look forward to talking to you guys soon, and thanks for watching.